run it to see what was happening and think about it. But you notice over here, you do not get any of those weird flashes because I finally worked on everything. And so the way that those work, see, and like the timer just shows up all of a sudden, it's confused what it should do. So I needed to name all my icons. But if we look at icon search, you can see that I reset my timer back to 0. That's what it did to avoid the flash. And then I started the timer, stopped it, so toggled the variable to actually cause the timer to start. I set bar show search. So bar show search. It's like, it's true. And then I also had this other problem that when I first opened the app, right, this is back to the app behaves differently when it's in the studio versus published with these weird, visualizations. So what I had to do is I had to go over here on app on start and make sure my timer was reset, which I don't remember why I had to do that. I had to set this variable called bar on start as true, so then that way, if you look at the formula for the width here, you can see that it has special behavior if it's the very first time the app is ever opened. So all these mechanics are in this app and working, so you can grab it from there. But just know that if you see like weird flashes, like when you run yours or it starts open, it should start closed, you just have to put that problem together piece by piece. Interesting. So you noticed that, right? So I'm changing the width, but I'm actually when I expand out, so right now I'm going to go left to right, and then go right to left. So I'm actually going. That was important to me. And so the way that I had to do that was if we look at our input for our search, down here we have not only the width has this formula, which we just talked about, but we also had a more complex formula for the X. And so the X is 1091, which is where I wanted it to be on the screen, plus 160, which is the current width, minus self, which is the controls width. So this was the nice tight little formula I ended up coming up with. But so all that you would really have to do, right? This would be the X of, this is gonna be your actual width, like the width you want it to be when it's fully expanded. And then this one is the X, like how far to the left or the right do you want, right? So let's just go do this real quick over here. So like right now, let's expand this guy out. Oh, see, and I can't expand it by holding down the Alt key like I want. I gotta expand it by doing this. But then it's going to freak out when we go back in here. That's the nuance of working with. It's made it really hard. But so I'm like, okay, I want your X to be 171, okay? So then what I ended up doing was saying, all right, your X is going to be 171 plus, we said the width of this one is 200, and then it is minus self dot width. So then now, when we expand, and then when we contract, what? I know, that was pretty fun. I really enjoyed the math. It wasn't hard math, but I had to stop and really think about managing that X to do that. So, whew, that was fun. Okay. One more important concept, the whole concept that set us out on this path. So in mine, if I do a search, and remember, all this weirdness of the icon's not showing up. That's because you're in the studio, and that's going to happen to you. But it doesn't happen to my users when I use it. So here we're going to search for Shaney. So no records found, please retry your search. So what I did here, this is just a label. And so its visible property is, if image not found dot visible. Okay, I didn't want to write the formula more than once. This image, if we look at its visible, is just if gallery1.allItems is empty. So is empty, right? You guys probably use is blank all the time to check whether a field is blank, right? Is blank is for checking an individual field. Is empty checks the table. Gallery1 is my table. So galleries have this special property called all items. So and then the beauty of this, the simplicity of this, is I don't have to worry about that complex if and filtering and sorting formula. All this does is says, hey, if there's nothing in the gallery, then all of these things are true and we show them. If there are things in your gallery, then don't show this stuff. That is all I did to make this all happen. Right, so we're gonna do this and this. This image of this young lady going, wah! So this comes from a website called Pixabay. Or I don't know how you say it. Whatever. And so this is a site that has royalty-free images. So I signed up for an account with them, and I just get things. And so I think for that one, I just search for question. And so then I just kind of scroll through here. Oh, there she is. So I have no affiliation with this website. I don't care if you use it. But one of the things I try to remind, at least myself, is that, you know, you don't want to be using images that have royalties, right? If you go search the internet and search for your favorite Star Wars image and you put that in your app, technically old Disney can show up and shut you down and sue you for millions of dollars for stealing their image and using it, right? They don't, but I try to, or not try, I always build all my apps, all my demos with either images I've created and own, or I go out somewhere like this that has a royalty-free license and is free for commercial use. So just be smart with your images and stuff. Okay? And there's a lot of fun stuff out here. I search for weird things all the time. That's how I find the images. So that's Pixabay. And then finally, the last little neat thing here is, so like if I say try again, what this is going to do is that resets the search. I guess I can just do it, so that'd make more sense, wouldn't it? I forget to show you guys things. So I reset my input search text. That puts it back to its default, which makes it blank. And then I set the focus to search text. So set focus is not a command I have shown, or function that I've shown you guys before, but that lets you put the cursor into a specific box. Right? So this is a lot of fun. You go over here, make a button. So that is text input too, and so nothing in there. And so then now I can do it focus. And so when I'm send them somewhere. So remember, control your cursor. Rules like stuff about how that works, but overall set focus is so when I was over here, when I say try again, this is where mine is weird. So when I hit try again, it put the cursor, it cleared out the box, but put the cursor back up there. That was how I was able to get it. Okay, one more topic real quick. Let's go back to the screen. And so the other thing you saw was I went ahead and put in this cute little sword icon. You know, and I brought it down here. And I made it white, obviously. But so how did I make it sort? So if we go back over here, what I did two things. So I say set var sort by. So what column do I want to sort by? And I set it to the name of the column that I wanted to sort by. So this is the name of the column in my data source, first name. And then I also, because I wanted to be able to toggle whether you sorted ascending or descending, I also set a variable var sort order to the opposite, right? So if it's true, set it false. If it's false, set it true. That's what that formula says. So that is all this little button does. But you notice if I go over here and click this one, which is tied to department, look at that, it's sorted by department. If I hit it again, it sorts by department the other way. So this is how I built this sorting interface. So then what the formula here looks like, if you look at your gallery, let me say, hey gallery, show me your items property. So I'm doing two things, and they kind of work, you know, outside in. So here's my root table, that is that one we imported from Excel. So then I said search all of these. So that's how the search functionality is working. Remember the way the search function works is if you're passing it nothing, so if the input search text.text is blank, then the search function just doesn't do anything. If it's not blank, then that's when we start searching by Shane or Shaney, right? And so then finally, if you go here, I'm like, all right, now I want to sort by columns. And so what table do I search? I'm going to sort. I'm going to sort the table's output by search. Cool. Comma. And then what column do I want to sort by? I'm going to sort by whatever column is in the variable bar sort by. So sort by columns, unlike some of the other functions, you can pass it information because in reality the column name is just a string. So I just looked in employee info table and I'm like, hey, what's my first name column called? It's first space name. And that's how when we clicked on this one, we set this to first name and that worked. If we look at this one, I set it to department, this one to hire date. It's just the column name from your actual date. So then I did that, and then I said, hey, if, this is one of the first formulas I ever understood, if bar sort order, if that variable is true, then sort ascending. If that variable is false, sort descending. And there you go. You have now built a pretty cool little sorting functionality without a lot of work. I also, because I got super nerd on this, I don't know why, but I did, I wanted to be able to also click on the name and get the same effect, right? Or hire date, get the same effect. So what I did is I went to the name, right, which is just a label, and I said, hey, on select, oh, here it's right there. On select icon name. So select your icon. So that way I didn't have to write the formula twice. Now, that was how I did it. There's interesting thoughts though. You know, another thing that I'm just thinking of. You guys want to see one more weird idea? So right now, if we, we're gonna kind of zoom in so we can make this easier to see. Okay, so right now, this icon is like this, right? And if you look over here, you know, its padding is 0. So it is just size 40 by 20 with no padding. But what I can do is I can add padding to the right of 100. And so now it's moved everything over. Actually, let's undo that. Let's go to a different screen. Take this out. So let's go over to our screen 2. So let's add an icon. And we use the sort one, so let's just do that. So right now, the icon is, you have to click within inside that box to do it, right? But remember, you can always take your icon and I can drag it like this. And so then now, if I click anywhere in this space, even though it's not lit up, right? Like look, see how the cursor still changed? If I go way over here, it's not. So all of that is triggering that icon, right? All this width. But what I might want to do, what I might want to do is I might want to make it so that, hey, I want to stay over on the left of this thing instead of moving it all the way over. So what I might do, if I get this right, is set my padding over here and say, hey, I want you some padding of, let's do like 50. And see how that scooted it over? So that was actually not what I wanted. We'll set the padding there to 0. But we'll set this one to 75. Oh, not 75, that'd be too many. 77. And see how it moved it over? So we can move it over further, be like, all right, maybe like 120. Oh goodness, this is a really big one. I should pay more attention how big it was. Let's do like 240. So then see, now it's sitting way over here, but all of this is clickable. Okay, so this is a way for you guys to build it so that unlike me, where I went to the effort of making this be one thing and this be one thing, I can just grab this. I'm gonna pull him over top of name. Okay, so that way you can kind of click any in there and there. And so then I'll just set the padding, and let's see, let's try 125. And so that moved it over there, maybe that moved it too far, so we'll try it just 100. But so now everywhere, we'll kind of pull this up, but I can start to really massage this thing. I don't like the way that looks, so I'll just add some top padding to kind of push it down a little bit, make it a little smaller. There you go. And so now everything in between those dots is clickable and will all trigger this icon, even though you're not actually clicking on an icon. So I don't typically do that because I don't know, it's just not the way I build things, but I thought that was a neat trick. Someone, I think Matthew was the one that did that, where I was paying attention and saw it. Someone on Twitter put it out there, and so I thought I would just show you guys how that works. But yeah, so with that, I don't know, hopefully this will kind of give you guys some different ideas of how, without a lot of work, I made a more functional app. I made it better for my users. Just this works. And so here, I'm going to show you also real quick. Let's take, let me open up the other one. So here, I launched the app in the player just so you guys can see that the whole experience is much nicer over here, right? So Shane, that works. Shaner, try again. That works. Right, I don't get all of that weird, it disappears and stuff. That's one of the hard things about building this type of animation stuff in Studio, is Studio behaves one way, the player behaves the other way, but I did all of the things to make a player work, not Studio. So, cool? Okay, so with that, I remind you guys, if you go out to training.powerapps911.com, you can download this app. If you want us to build this app for you, right? Hit us up at PowerApps911. We do lots of things. If you have questions, comments, ideas, other things you want to share with people, right? Write that great comment that I might turn into a pinned comment. Leave those down below. I respond to all my comments. Sometimes I get a little behind. I'm currently behind on a group. It happens. But yeah, this was just a fun one. I'm gonna do some more stuff coming up on validation, but I just thought I'd started out just cover validation, like I said, but once I started to make this nice design, I was really just inspired by when I was like, this app has potential, so that's why I did this one. All right? And so I guess this is all that. I'm going to say thanks and have a great day. Before you go, be sure to click on the subscribe button over here, so that way you'll be notified when new videos come out. If you need any help or you want to work together, whether your problem's big or small, check us out at PowerApps911. We do it all. Or if you're looking for more formal training offerings, we have those linked up here somewhere. So check them out. Thanks and have a great day. In today's show, we're going to do a deep dive in customizing your first app in Microsoft Teams using the new Power Apps and Project Oakdale stuff. Now, there's a shorter video, which is a link down in the description if you'd rather watch that. But I'm assuming you've watched the short one, and now you're like, hey, I want to learn the details. I actually want to start customizing and tweaking this app. And this is the video for you. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Power Apps 911. Those guys. And today's show is all about a deep dive into customizing your first app. So in the overview video, I got you all excited. I showed you how to quickly build your first app in 5 minutes, but I left out all the details, right? How do you add those face copies? How do you add required fields? How do you start to write formulas and functions inside your first Power App? So the idea of this video is this is the extended cut, right? What we're going to do is we're going to cover how to build our first app, but we're going to do so in a very detailed manner so you understand all the pieces. Because in reality, what's going on here is once you understand that this is just an extension of what Power Apps has always been, then you can go and watch any YouTube video you want on Power Apps, and you'll be able to learn and apply those same concepts here. There's just a few little things I want to teach you, not a few. There's a lot of little things I want to get you going with. So that's what this video is. All right, that's enough blah, blah, blah. We'll switch over to my desktop and take it. Okay, so over here on my desktop, I just want to kind of show you guys, this is what we're building towards, not necessarily building this app, but building towards this app. And you might be thinking, but Shane, I've seen Power Apps embedded inside Teams before. What is different about this? Well, what's different is we're actually going to build the app from within Teams. So we're not going to leave we're not going to leave Teams and go to the Power Apps Studio and build something and just publish it into here. We're going to build it right here inside of Teams, which is going to give us a much richer data source. And so it's called Project Oakdale right now. It's Common Data Service Lite. So it's going to be the fastest data source going. It's also going to deal with a lot of delegation challenges, especially when building apps and things like SharePoint. And so with that, we also get a rich integration. So like up here at the top, you can see a little label, channel name general. I just wanted to show like what it would look like that you can tie in and figure out what channel they're in, what team they're in, a lot of that stuff. You can figure out whether they're in dark mode or not. There's a lot of rich integration. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start building this stuff together. Over here, you're going to see we have something simple. It's called a gallery. So this is just where I can choose different people like Chewy. And I can be like, oh, look, here's my buddy Chewy. I can click on edit over here. And so we can edit Chewy's data and be like, you know what, Chewy's favorite color is actually green. And then we can just save that and we can go, oh, yeah, the data update. And so, we're also going to kind of start setting the stage. So maybe I want to be able to put a message to the employee over my Teams. We could do that. We could send an email to Chewy. So we're just going to start looking at how you guys can build productivity apps right inside of Teams with what's going on. Okay, that's enough blah, blah, blah. Let's start building, right? Let's get going and take advantage of all this. And so what I did is I made a brand new team this morning, right? There's nothing in this team, so you can see the entire experience. And so the first thing you need to do is you're going to go over here, and you're going to say find an app, and you're going to find the Power Apps Preview app, right? It's Power Apps Preview. Remember, all this stuff is in preview right now, so that's, if preview is no longer going on, if it's past that, then you watch the wrong video. This video would be old. There'll be a new one when we get out of preview. But right now we're in preview. So when you add that, it's going to bring it into your environment, and you're going to see different things here based on whether or not you have data. But you're probably not going to see recent apps the first time through, right? Because you haven't built an app yet. So what you're going to do instead is you're going to say create an app. And when you create an app, you then get to choose your team. And so I'm going to use Power Apps Testing. The reason I made a new Teams team for this is so that you can see, you're going to choose, there we go. So what I want you to see is that when you hit create, it says give us a minute. And so the idea here is that they need a minute because they're going to go provision an underlying database called the Common Data Service, or a version of the Common Data Service. And they're going to put all the pieces in place so you have somewhere to store and save your data. It's not SharePoint, not an Excel spreadsheet or SQL, right? It's built right in here. So I'm going to hit pause for a second while this all builds, but right now we're getting it all provisioned for us. And so here we can see it is finished. It went ahead and said getting things ready. I could have left the channel while it was going on, and it would have just left me a message telling me it was done, but I just let it all process. So we're doing great. Things are getting ready. And look at that. It dropped us into the Power Apps Studio. So we didn't jump out to a different website. I didn't even leave my Teams client. We're in the Power Apps Studio here. And so now what they're going to do is we're going to start building our first app. It's easier to see, hopefully. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to see that the first thing you're probably going to want to do is create a new table. So say create new table. All we have to do is give it a table name. And so I'm going to call this My Employees. But you can call it whatever you want, right? This is not important. Now another pro tip here is always hit advanced settings. And so in this case, it's just showing you what would be the plural name when the plural of employees is employees. So there's not one. But one of the things you want to do as you're trying to learn all this is every time you see advanced settings, expand it. Just read what's there. You're not going to use them 9 times out of 10, but you're trying to plant those seeds. Get yourself thinking, hey, what might be possible in the future? Anyway, so what we're going to do now is we'll say create. And so after, 2 seconds there, it will drop us in this table editor. So here we can start building out a table to store our data. And so one of the things I might want to do here, first off, might be like, hey, I don't want name to be the first column. I actually want it to be called job title. That's what we're going to do. We're going to build out kind of this employee data set. So I'm going to say edit my column. And so then it's like, all right, well, what would you like to call it? I'm just going to call it job title. We're going to say save. And just like that, there's a column. So now we're going to make, hey, add another one. I'm going to add first name. And then I have this rich set of choices of the different types. What's even cooler is that's not all of them. I'm going to show you some more here in a second after we build a couple of these first ones. But there you go. We got first name. We're just going to make it text. Pretty simple. Once again, remember you expand advanced options. Oh, how long do you want it to be? 100's fine, but we could have done it. So say create. We'll bolt in the last name and it'll be exactly the same. And so then now how about, let's add a different type. Let's do something like age. So I think people track how old my employees are, right? Probably not about, whatever. But what I wanted to talk about too here is that we're going to use a number for that. And so numbers, if you want to know, that is a number column, but that doesn't have any decimal points, right? So that's the number 29 to my wife's age, right? She's always 29, keeps me out of trouble. But it's just a whole number type of column. Because the other thing I want to add here is I'm going to add their hourly wage. Yes, I don't pay my employees in hourly wages, but I like hourly wages because those are decimal numbers. So that's when we're going to be able to put in a number that has a decimal. So $12. And so then you also, here we'll add another one. How about we'll keep track of when did we hire these people. And so there is a date column here. Very cool. And then the last one that we'll create in this interface is we'll say save here. And we will put in another column for are they good at their job. I'm even going to put a question mark in there because I always think it's cool just to test the limits of what's possible. And so here we'll build this. Now, I could change these. I can change the default. I like that. Oh, you know what? One more column. I'm sorry. I forgot to remember that. And so we'll scroll to the right here a little bit and say plus, and then we're going to say favorite color. It's also very important because what I wanted to show you here is that there's also this thing called a choice column. And so a choice column is as simple as you think, right? You can do it red, green, and then yellow. And there are little color pickers over here, so I can have it show up in different colors. You can't customize them or anything. It's one of those features that kind of keeps changing. Remember, we're in a preview, so it's going to continue to ebb and flow over the next few weeks, months, years, however long we stay in preview. Probably not years, probably not months, but whatever. Who knows? But these colors don't really manifest themselves back over on the Power App side, so they're not really a big deal. But I just thought it was a fun little visual. So say great. And so that gives us some columns. And so then now, if we walk through, I can just kind of fill out this, right? So the first person we always add my employee data set is CEO. And who is that going to be? That is going to be Nicole. And done. I told you already, she's 29. Sticking to it. We're going to pay her $99.99 an hour. When was she hired? Who knows? Oh, look, nice little date picker here, though. Maybe I want to kind of go backwards in the dates. Maybe she was hired somewhere here. How about 2016? So, I did some budget match for that, right? So it's December that year. Perfect. Of course, she's good at her job. And then her favorite color here can be yellow. Cool. So there you go. So we added our first row of data. And so here, I'll hit pause real quick and add 3 or 4 more people. Be right back. Okay, so I added a couple people here. Right, Chewie is the Chief Mapping Officer, he's my dog. If you watch all my other videos, about 100 of them. You'll see Chewie a lot. I also just realized that I didn't get married in 2016 and 2006, so don't tell her I messed that up. I just fix that real quick. It's easy to edit. I can even edit right here directly, but oops. Alright. So there you go, we got some data. Now what's really neat, when we close out of this, Power Apps is going to do a little magic for us. It is going to hook up our data into what they call the hero. This is this idea that it's like, hey, here's our records over here on the left. Here is the ability to edit them. And so if we just say preview, we can open this up right away. We can see, oh look, the data is in there. And if we hit the edit pencil, we can be like, oh yeah, my favorite color is actually green. We say save. And just that fast, the data is saved. Now, before we get into customizing this though, I want to concentrate a little bit more on the data. So I want to go back over and I want to change the data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, don't show me this again. Cool. I'm going to go up here, I'm going to name my app. Now, Power Apps auto-saves your app every 2 minutes, but you want to make sure that you get it saved the way you want it so that auto-save is doing what you need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on App up here, and I'm going to call this Video Demo. All right, very creative name, I know. We're going to say save. So now we know that my app is saved. Whew, I don't want to lose any of that hard work. But what I also want to do is, so now I want to get out, because I want to go edit this data some more. And so I could say edit data right here, and this brings back up the table editor, but there's a richer experience that if there's even more features available to you. So what we want to do is we're going to look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on build up here at the top. This took me out of the app. And so then over here now, we can see if we click on Power Apps Testing, remember that's the new one I just created. And so if you get this, it's real easy to be like, whoa, where's all my stuff, right? Why is it not here? This is just one of those nuances of the preview. If you hit dismiss, it'll take you in, you're like, whoa, there's all my data, thank goodness. Okay, so then now that we've kind of got this here, what I'm gonna do here is I typically hit see all because this gives me that full experience, right? This is about you guys learning as much as I can get you to learn in a short amount of time. And so over here, then we make, all right, tables. And so then here is your table. Now, if you select your table, notice that you'll see different things. I can go back in the visual editor. We can delete the table. We can create a new table. You can also manage permissions. We're not going to get in that today. You may or may not be seeing that in your environment yet because it's a feature that's still kind of in early flux. So if you're watching this on launch day, it might not be there. But once it shows up, go click around. It's some cool stuff in there. So the other thing that I want to do here is I'm going to click on My Employees Now. And so when you click on it here, now you get this rich experience. Like, whoa, what is all this stuff? I get overwhelmed by it too, don't worry. Up here in the top right, because this is showing you all the columns. the Common Data Service, or Oakdale, is such a powerful data source because Microsoft does so much for you, right? Like, look, it's tracking modified by, and there's a created stuff, there's UTC things, there's versions, there's all types of fields here. There's the created stuff. It's overwhelming. Don't be overwhelmed. Go up here and hit the drop down. Change this from default to custom. Those are the columns we created. Whoa, much easier to understand. So what I want you to do now, though, is I want you to say add a column. And so we're going to create one we're going to call face. And so now what we're going to do is, instead of, oh, look at that. This drop-down has a whole bunch of more rich data. And if you're familiar with Common Data Service, you recognize these. They're no big deal. Play with them. Try these different ones out. See what they do and don't do for you. But the one that I'm really after right now, I'm going to ignore most of them, is I really wanted this image one. I wanted the ability to store pictures in those spaces. We saw Power Apps kind of set up to it. We'll say image, and we're just going to be like, cool. Done. And so when we do that, notice down the bottom right, you have to save table. I guess I had to move my face over. Whoop. And so when I did that, you can see save table down here. So you need to save it. But before we save it, I want to look at one other thing. Say that as you were building up this data set, you wanted to make sure that you always got a first name, right? Because if we look at required, right now, only job titles required because it's a primary name column. And we could say, you know what? I don't want it to be required. Cool. So that would make that one not required. Even the first name required. So we click on this column and set it to required. So done. And so we'll hit save table here. So these are the little things that you just have to kind of go and play with. Right? That table editor was super fast, quick way to get up and running. But as you start to build more complex solutions, you want to understand this thing at a deeper level. Coming over into this experience lets you kind of start to see it and kind of go a little further. So don't be afraid to come over here and click around. You don't have to. But one of the things I'm really trying to do is empower you guys to learn. Now, up here you can also see, maybe all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm going to click in teams real quick to see what's going on. And then you kind of lost it, right? Like, what happened? No big deal. What I want you to do is, when you click the ellipses, we're going to open up the Power Preview and put Power Apps Preview on. But one of the things you can do here is you can right-click and you can say pin. And so when you pin it, now when I go over to Teams, it won't go away. So I think that's probably one of those things you want to do. Another thing you might have noticed is when I wrote right-click here, I have a ability to pop. And so if we pop out the app, I'll drag it over where you can see it. Here you can see that now I have the Power Apps app running standalone. It's still inside of Teams, but it's running as a standalone little piece versus so that way I can more easily switch to chats and Teams without being lost. Now, I point that out to you though, but just keep in mind that that is not released yet, so you probably do not have pop-out, but you'll have it soon. I don't know when that means, but I know you'll have it soon. So as soon as that shows up, I think that's going to be the best practice to get used to using it over there. Right? Okay, so we're back over here. Now you can see I got a lot of things going on. I've been practicing a lot. But you're like, I'm really overwhelmed. And that's fair. So typically what I've been doing is just clicking on this build tab. And so once I drop into here, then I can find the Teams environment that I built it in, and then I can go ahead and go back in and start editing the app. And remember that every one of these Teams, team, it's so hard to say. Every one of this is its own little pivot. I have my employees here. There's also, if we say see all, we put on tables, there's a my employees here. Those are two separate instances of my employees, right? They are two different worlds, but because every one of these environments is its own. So that's important to understand. You need to make sure you're in the right Teams team because all your apps, all your tables are contained in that team. That's where they're focused, all right? So let's go back to video demo and let's go in a little further now that we kind of understand, or we got some more columns kind of going on over there. Okay, so now that we're back over here, we're like, hey, let's explore and let's customize this app just a little bit so you guys can start to kind of get yourself more familiar with Power Apps. To that end, I'm going to click over here on the left, and if you switch this view right here to tree view, what you're going to see is that it kind of gives you this hierarchy-driven view of what's going on. And so one of the things you might see here we just clicked on the Browse Gallery. The galleries are controls that are used to show you a table of data, one or many records from a data source. And so in this case, I can start to customize it. And so over here on the right, we've got the different data sources. We can do views, we can do the different layouts. So maybe instead of image title and subtitle, let me scroll down to I want image title, subtitle, and body. So that's going to change what we see, all right? And then if we click on fields, we can even drag in a little further and say, all right, well, the top one, I want first name. Cool. That second one, I'm going to do people's favorite color. It's a real important thing about people. Oh, the image. So look, it's doing this image or this item dot face. All right, so we might be able to get that here in a second. And then finally, we've got their age. So it's kind of got some different columns going on. So that's one way to customize what you see over here. Now, if we kind of collapse this over a little bit, and so one of the things I've been doing with the image, so if we go here, we haven't added one yet. So we're going to need ability to, we're going to have to add it before it shows up, right? We haven't uploaded a picture of these people's faces, so we'll have to come back to that in a second. But the other things that we can look here, so if we click in here, right now there is this weird little rectangle that sits on top. I just want you guys to go ahead and it causes a lot of challenges when you delete that rectangle. Because now I can click on Nicola. And so up here at the top, you can see that this is actually what we call a label control. And so this label control in the text property is this item.firstName. So that's why if you look, you can see, I'll kind of make this a little bigger. You see Nicola's first name, Chewy, Greg, right? You see everyone's first name. Now, if you wanted, you could come up here and change it, but hey, what if I want to see their last name instead? We could do this item.lastName, and we'd see the last name. Now, Power Apps is very case sensitive, so what I always recommend is, like I started typing in last, I'm gonna hit the down arrow because I want to choose that one, and I'm just gonna hit enter and let Power Apps type it in with the right sensitivity. So, a little pro tip there. But what if we want to show both first name and last name? Well, this is where you get to write your first low-code formula. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say this item first name. We're gonna use an ampersand, which means concatenate. And then we're going to concatenate in a space. And so in Power Apps, you delimit a string, so you make strings by putting in double quotes. So double quote, space, double quote gets you a single space. And so then you could do another ampersand in this item dot last name. And so look at that. Now that one label shows everyone's first name, space, last name. There you go. You have written your first formula. Yay! So let's go down here. Let's write another one. Let's go click on the age. You know what? I actually didn't want to show you guys age. I wanted to show you guys their hourly wage. I started typing hour and hit down and enter. There we go. We got the hourly wage. Now you might notice that is showing it, but look, 99.99, 100 with no decimals, 12.5 with no trailing zero. I want this to look like currency, okay? So what you might do, let's kind of pull this over as well. I don't like where it's sitting, so I'm going to grab this little bar, kind of slide it. There we go, that looks better. But so we're going to write a more complex formula. But if you're familiar with Excel, you used Excel before, it's going to seem very familiar. So what we're going to do is we're going to say text, and then this item.hourly wage. And so then what do we want it to look like? I'm going to do, it's a string, right? We're going to turn it into a text format. So I'm going to put a string in my quotes. And I'm going to do this formula right here. And close it out. And so look at that. Now if you look at all these, they're all in a currency format. US currency format. You can change it to your different region if you live somewhere else, don't worry. But I used a US currency format. We're off and running. So you look at that formula though, let's click back on it, and we're like, hey, how did you know to do that? Great question. And so the answer is you need to use the documentation. So this is probably the most valuable thing I'm going to show you. So let me switch and show you that browser real quick. Okay, so over here in your browser, I'm going to search for Power Apps Formula Reference, or if you look down in the description below, I'll have a link to this, but this is how I always find it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to this document, function signals and enumeration. And so what this is the thing you're all looking for, right? This is a list of every single function available. And if we scroll over down to these, there's the text function we just used. And if you scroll through here, it's how it works. Oh look, there's predefined formats, so you can use it not only to do numbers, but to format dates. Pretty cool. there's all that weird zero and number sign and periods and stuff I did earlier. So that's pretty cool. More of the date stuff, literal placeholders. Woo! It talks a little bit about if you have apps in different languages, which many of you will. Explains how that works. And then finally down here at the bottom, it has examples. And look, there's that number example that I just did for making something look like currency. So this documentation, this is my best gift I can give to you as new to Power Apps people, is that this list, this is what changed my life. And what I would do when I was trying to learn was I would come in here every day and I would read through the list of functions, right? I wasn't trying to memorize them, but what I was trying to do was just plant seeds in my little brain that said, hey, look, there's a bunch of stuff around arctangent and arctangent based on XY coordinates. I don't even know what that means, right? It was in trigonometry class that I failed at. There's a cute girl there, messed me up. Whatever. But what the thing was, is that as you look at this, you know, this gets ideas. So there's a bunch of complex math stuff. There's a compass one. Oh, and look, there's a connection state. So a rich experience in here for you to take advantage of. So what I don't want you to try and do is memorize them though, is I want you to think, hey, how do I start to like do this and that? So when someone comes to me and says, hey, do you want to build or how do you coordinate this different? That's what I'm understanding all the functions of this. I don't know how many. I should count one day. That's a lot. I love every one of them. So, check out your functions. Okay? But so that was how, after years of doing this, since the Stone Ages, I think, I now know how to build this type of stuff from that. Okay? So the next little concept here we want to talk about. So notice that I gave everyone a favorite color, right? So we got green, we got red, we got green again. Well, one of the things that you might be finding yourself is like, hey, what if I want to make their text show up in the color that they do? Well, I hit the little drop down up here on the top and I'm like, look, there's a color. And so if I change this color from, let's just type in a color. Let's just type in something red. Oh, look, it goes to red. And if we go to blue, it goes to blue. Oh, blue-violet, even better. Ooh, that's kind of purple. I like it. So, what you really realize is that this color property, it wants a color return. And so Power Apps has about 170 different color properties built in. And when you highlight this, it says right here, data type is color. But what happens if I don't want to do that? What if I wanted to use like RGBA, right? People gave me that. No big deal, right? So 169, goodness gracious, 44, 33, set up. 0.1, and so that is a really hard to read. I don't know what color to call that because I don't know my colors. But you can put in your RGBA coordinates or formula for a color. You can also use, maybe they gave you your color in this format, right? The hexadecimal format. So we do it like this, and we go F2, 3, 4, that. Oh, look at that. Look at that pretty color I just made up off the top of my head. So that's another way to do it. So those are two options you have available to you. But what about, using this built in? What if we want to use their favorite color? Well, what I would try here is I'd be like, all right, this side one color, favorite color. It's mad at me. Whenever Power Apps is mad at you, it's got a little red dot up here, and it underlines which mad. So here in cover, oh, you want a color value. Well, the word green is a color value. But no, the word green is text. It just happens to spell a color. So what we need to do is we're going to turn this control into text, like that, still mad. But then there is a function called color value that takes a text representation of the color and turns it into a color. So look at that. So now people show up green, red, green. We click on Greg's record here and edit it. And we change his favorite color to be yellow. And we say, it updated the data, and whew, that like burns my eyes. It's hard to read, but you get the idea. Now, you might be thinking, Shane, I'm never going to do this. That's fair. But what I need you to take away from this is that when you build one of these, the idea is that the color, the color property, right? So when you click on this, the color property just needed a color. It didn't care how it got there. So anytime in Power Apps you're working with data, right, and this is going to go for the next 100 years when you're building apps inside of Teams, you just need to think, what does this thing want? In this case, it wanted color. I needed a function that returned a color. It just happened I used some data. Another great example, right? There is something called font size here. So right now it's 9. If I change it to 15, fonts got bigger, right? And so the idea here is that it just wants a number. But I did 15. I could have also just done 5 times 3, because that also returns 15. Or I could have used this item.age. Remember, age is a number. And so you can see all of a sudden now that Nicola's color is really big and Greg's is really big, right? Because they're old. But Chewy was only 4. It's so small I can't even see it. I kind of see it. So the idea is that you can have any type of input passed in as long as it turns a number. You can be like, I want it to be age divided by 4. Cool, right? Everyone's got that in there because it's a number. So that's the main lesson I want you guys to take out of this, is that as you're building these apps and you're starting to explore what do these different properties do, oh goodness, I'm having a hard time sizing and talking at the same time apparently. But as you try to figure that out, what I want you really doing is asking yourself, what does this thing want? Oh, font size wants a number. All right, how do I want to get to the number? Maybe the font size changes based on the month of the year. Do some math. No big deal. Okay, so that's our gallery. So now over here, we want to switch gears to our form. And on our form, what we're going to have is, if we kind of expand this thing from the left again, we can see this little resize and make this fit. I know it's hard to see, but you got all the things on the screen at once. So now that we're in a form, you can control things like what fields show up. So we'll say edit fields. And one of the fields I want to add is that face. I want to start, adding in pictures of all my employees. So we're going to add the face field. We're going to add it. And maybe we want to drag it up a little bit, right? We make, hey, I want you right after first name and last name. Cool. All right. So now that that is in there, you see that we have this. And so if we say preview and we say edit, click to add a picture. And so if we go look over here into the one folder, right here, and so see, there's uglier Greg's picture, right? Greg's been my friend forever, so I'm glad to make fun. It's kind of one of those things people complain about. But now we say, hit the X, and not only are we going to see Greg's picture here, but we're going to see Greg's picture right here. Now, one of the things I don't like is, did you notice, you probably didn't, but Greg's face got blurry. It's hard to look at when it's clear, when it's blurry, it's terrible. And so the reason for that is if we don't look, right here on this what is called the data card, that is the card that is showing people what's going on. If you click on the drop down here, one of the things that was set here is the default. What field is it showing? It is showing this item. And so one of the ways that Oakdale works today, it might not work this way in the future, but works today, is that by default, it is showing you a low resolution thumbnail size version that is auto-generated space, which means stretch back out doesn't look very good. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over here to the advanced on the right. You're going to unlock this to change the properties. And so what you need to do instead is you're going to say, hey, instead of this item.face, you're going to do a dot, and you're going to do a dot full. And when you do a dot full, that gets you back that high resolution color. So this was one of those things that drove me crazy when I was playing with it. So I just wanted to save you guys the grief and show you that one. Because unlocking cards, it's more advanced, we'll talk about that later. But in the short term, if you're using images, that's the way you use it to upload the Teams environment. Okay? So then, in the same type of thing would hold true over here. If we go back to our gallery for a second, and we click in our gallery, like we're on this item.face, and so if we do this, we just do a dot. Cool. And so then that way we're using the high resolution. Maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger, so we kind of put this a little wider. Maybe we'll bring back over here. So we're going to go over here, we're going to click on the gallery, and we're going to click like this. There we go. Let's pull this down, make it bigger so we got more room. Thank goodness. There's the green. I know these things around, I should get them all to be where I want. There we go. We make a big face. work there on Galway. Speaking of cleanup work, if we go back over to our form, right, the form is selected now. We go back to properties, and so you can change the number of columns. And so the one that I recommend is actually 12. If you do 12, it's going to put everything into a 4-column layout. And so then now if you kind of look at this, right, we kind of got a cleaner look at the stuff. But maybe we want to make some of these bigger, some of these smaller. No big deal. I'm putting like the first thing, let's make it half the square. I'm going to pull it to the right. Alright, so there's half, and we'll make the last name the other half. And then we'll just kind of shrink this up a little bit. Oh, that looks a little nicer. Greg's face, maybe we want to take up the whole screen. Something like that. Now, higher date just stretched out the whole way, so I want to make higher date smaller. I'm going to grab higher date, I'm going to pull it to the left. And when you pull it to the left, it doesn't always cooperate. This is another one of those fun things in preview. So what it is this width thing. So what we're just going to do is we're going to turn that off for the moment. Oh, now it goes where we wanted. And so now if we resize that one, you can see these all jumped up. I go down to good job. Like, hey, you shrink. There you go. You shrink. And then if we just kind of wiggle this one, it pulls up. And so then now we've got kind of, I'll make this thing kind of a different little experience there. So there's a lot of stuff there that you can play with. One of the things I would recommend is do not ever turn off snap to columns. You can, but it is just like a form of self-torture that no one should ever put themselves through. It's a grumpy little experience. So don't turn that off. But so then, you know, you have the different columns here, you have the different layouts, so you can kind of just play with the settings. I don't want to get into that, but I just want you guys to understand that was there. And then, you know, I also want to make sure that you saw already, right? Oh yeah, I want hour away. You want to go to the job. You can kind of drag these things around. You can delete them. You can add additional fields. So there's a lot of different customizations. And I've got whole videos, like 4 or 5, on just customizing forms. So if you want to go find those, just go search Power Apps, you know, and customize form, or click on some of the links below. But a lot of different stuff that I don't want to get lost on. Okay? So we're doing pretty good. 2 other things I want to make sure you guys understand. I know we're getting a little long here, but there's so much I need you guys to start thinking about. So one of them, up here, this right now, and they just free to find this as text. One of the things I want to make sure you guys know about is that there's a function called user. And so the user function will return the current login user's full name. So if you want to have something that said something like, hi, and like this, right? Now when I logged in the app, it would say hi user. But so every employee would see their own name up there. Because one of the things I want you to think about as you're building Power Apps is don't ask people questions you already know the answer to. You already know their name, right? Use the user function. The user function also already has their email address, right? So lots of different pieces there. So there's that. The other one is add another label, so I go to insert. I'm going to grab a label. I'm just going to drag it and just drop it right here. And so in this label, what I might be like is and so there is also a custom label called and so you need teams, and then you can see there's different properties about this team. Right? And you notice the drop that are the way red is this is a record. A label can't show a record. A record is a whole row out of a database, like multiple fields. Or we show a specific field, just add another dot to the end, and then be like, oh, where's your display name? And so right now it doesn't show anything, which is really confusing here in Studio, but that's because we're not in it to. But in a second we'll see that. Right? So I think that's we're in good shape here. So what I want to do now is we're going to say save again. We don't really have to, but I'd like to hit save early, save often. And so now we're going to publish this out to our team so other people can see it. I'm going to say publish to teams. I'm going to say next. And so then this is like, hey, in the team that we're in, remember, because when you build an app all in a specific team, you have to stay in that team. You can't jump across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want to add it to what channel. I only have one channel. So I'm going to plus over here. That adds the video demo. And when we say save and close, now when we switch over to that one, we'll be able to see our app launch. So give us just another second here. Okay, and so that's done. So now if we go over your teams, we go to Power Apps General. Look at that. Video demo is already up here. And if we click in there, okay, and look at that. After just a little bit of load, it went ahead and pulled our app up. And so now we can Cole's record, right? We can edit it out. Edit it, put it in the fancy little party favor path. And there you go. We're going to upload that. So we're able to populate data. We have the ability to create new.
to a place where we can be free. Follow me.
Yeah. So hang the DJ, play pretend, burn the city, fuck your friends and sing along. Sing along. Hang the DJ, play pretend, burn the city, fuck your friends and sing along. Sing along. So hang the DJ, play pretend, burn the city, fuck your friends and sing along. Sing along. Hang the DJ, play pretend, burn the city, fuck your friends and sing along. 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 Sing
To the rhythm of the beat, ba 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 da bum.